Bismillah wa salawatu wa salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today on No Clue on Islam, I found a book that the ex-Muslims are using. Actually, an ex-Muslim sent this to me. It's called Disproving Islam, and it has some of the most generic arguments I've ever seen. But I decided, since it's kinda hip with the ex-Muslim community recently, I decided to review some of it. Now let's see what the first argument is. So the first argument is basically, oh there, Petra is Mecca. Now this is quite, I would say popular nowadays. I've seen it quite a few times myself, and it's one of the more retarded arguments, to be honest. But let's just review his first point for this. Okay, so our friend here claims that the Qibla initially pointed to Petra. He lists a bunch of mosques that face Jerusalem, but in truth faced west to Petra. Basically, these places face Petra because he wants them to, even though they literally don't face Petra. Now, we have a few problems with this accusation. The main one is that early astronomy, they weren't really able to achieve anything close to modern-day accuracy. As a matter of fact, Muslims started researching astronomy to create a more accurate Qibla. And these Qiblas don't even directly point to Petra. You could say some of them actually do, but I don't think there's enough proof to prove that they purposely tried to point to Jordan Petra, or Petra Jordan. They tried to point their best to Mecca, and that is really all 90% of the evidence, all the evidence says, as a matter of fact. They obviously were not 100% accurate, because of limited astronomy at the time. Now let's scroll down and see what other arguments you find. Okay, so no one is the accuracy. Now, he's basically claiming the fact that, well, they were actually accurate enough to do this. But according to an Islamic science historian who isn't a revisionist, David A. King explains the first generation of Muslims had no means whatsoever for finding the direction of Petra, or Mecca either, accurately to within a degree or two, not because they had no access to any geographical coordinates, let alone modern ones. As Islamic science historian David A. King explains, the first generation of Muslims had no means whatsoever for finding direction of Petra or Mecca, accurately to within a degree or two, not because they had no access to any geographical, not least because they had no access to any geographical coordinates, let alone modern ones, and no modern mathematics either. So there is no real proof of them being accurate enough to do this. Unless you can show me actual proof other than satellite image kind of points to Petra, so it's Petra. Now, he also makes a claim. Wait, let me scroll down a little bit. You still talking about Qibla? We already passed over this. Actually, however, non-Muslim sources, doctrine... So basically, he's taking Armenian history and Byzantine history over the oral history of the Arabs. That was, yes, written a little later, but it is still oral history. It's not like it's not history. It was passed down from teacher to student to teacher to student. So I'd rather take a chain of oral history than someone who lives thousands and thousands of miles away. Okay, so about Adam, Ayatollah Salam being the first place black stone, which is true. He was the first one to place it. I do not disagree with this. Now, just because it was the oldest city on the planet does not mean it was always continuously inhabited. For example, when Ibrahim alayhi salam came with Ismail alayhi salam and Hajar, there was nobody there. It was simply uninhabited. So it is the mother of cities, as it is the first city, but wasn't continuously being inhabited. And he also makes a claim about there is no archaeological finds. Now, the thing with Saudi Arabia is that they don't use any archaeological finds in fear of shirk, because people might commit shirk over the items, which is a very valid fear at that. I can describe it as their trade route. So, but he says that, well, there are no maps that have Mecca. Now, the thing is, when people always give me these maps, like when people on Discord, like they send me these maps are like so late. They come like 1500s, 1700s. is I actually checked the dating of the maps, and these maps were not any time close time to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Meccan Valley. Now, basically, his claim is that, well, there is no there is no flow of water, there is no like flood water or something, that like basically Mecca has never flooded before, and it's not really a valley. Now, in terms of this flood claim, that's just wrong, because between Safa and Marwa, there was a flood. And Safa and Marwa is a valley. You can't say it isn't a valley. Yeah, they might be small, relatively small mountains, but it's still a valley. Okay, there is scarce rainfall in Mecca. They richly trees and bushes. Now, in terms of this, I've actually asked, there are actually a lot of thorny bushes in the Hijaz region. So, I don't really see his point here, to be honest. And his argument for why this is Petra is because, well, Petra can grow these you can literally say that for anywhere that grows that vegetation in the Arabian Peninsula. And in terms of the Quran verse, it never states that there was that sort of vegetation growing in the region. Just Prophet Ibrahim made dua so that the people living there would have gotten those fruits. Now, they could have simply gotten those fruits from trade, as they do to this day. So once again, you haven't really disproved anything. His next claim is that the Mecca mountains can be Safa Marwa because Hajar ran around Safa Marwa, and he was challenging. I don't see how this is proof against it being Safa Marwa. Hajar was very tired after a long trip, and she managed to make the trip 7 times even in her tired condition. So I don't see how this even supports your claim of the quote-unquote original Safa Marwa being much bigger than the ones we have today. Now here's another one. On the idols on Safa and Marwa. Basically, they're talking about, in the next focus, basically the focus that there are idols on Safa and Marwa. Now, there were idols on Safa and Marwa, but if you knew anything about Islamic history, you would know that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ destroyed all the idols in Mecca to purify it. So, oh boy. Now, let's go down a little bit. Alright, Mecca has a high and low side. Alright, so apparently, Mecca doesn't have a high and low side at all. Nope, no mountains here. No, just tiny little hills. No, not even mountains. Come on, man, this isn't even a claim. You're saying that, well, Petra has bigger low side and high side. It's more steep, so therefore it is Petra and not Mecca. I could say about any steep place in the universe. And then say, well, that was real Mecca. Yeah, bro. The walls of Mecca. Now, in terms of the walls of Mecca, this is only due to one story in Ibn Ishaq Sirah. His Sirah is not as rigorously authenticated as Sahih Hadith collections, and this wall is actually missing in these collections. Due to the absence of the wall being mentioned in Hadith literature, I can conclude that there weren't really any walls in Mecca. Of course, if I'm wrong, if any Islamic historians see this, please correct me and DM me. I'll put my Discord in the description below. He also makes a claim about Mecca being Al-Haram. So, this is a funny one. So for those who don't listen to mainstream history and not revisionists, Mecca was called Al-Haram because no fighting was permitted there. I don't see why there being stones to defend Petra somehow makes it more deserving of the name Al-Haram. It was only Al-Haram because there was supposed to be no fighting there. He also makes a claim about the people of not being close to Mecca. Or he's actually Muslim Sinaitis. We know that the people of Mecca we know that the people of Ad were not close to Mecca. This is nothing contrary to the fact that Petra is Mecca. However, our author here assumes that the Quran is only about the Hijaz region and only about the Prophet Muhammad's life, or at least focused on him, like the Gospels, which definitely is not. Now, there's apparently a strange Qibla sentence from Al-Tabari. This gets more funny as we go on. Basically, the part which says the same Qibla to you is an interesting and strange statement. So, that means they were both Muslims. The battle was between two Muslims. It's something called Google Buddy. This isn't hard to find. This wasn't during the time of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This was much, much later during the time of Hajjaj bin Yusuf. So, yeah, this was really dumb. This entire article is really dumb. Well, that's it for now. Assalamu alaikum.